there's something inside of you that's screaming to go out there, that you're made for more. And we're holding ourselves back because we're afraid of what can happen when we just let ourselves fly.
Hi, I'm Veronica Cisneros, licensed marriage and family therapist, entrepreneur, and host of the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast. I was 1 month away from divorce. The court papers were filed. We had just had our first daughter, and I felt more alone than ever. My husband told me he was tired of competing with my career. I was overwhelmed, disconnected from my family, and questioning everything I had built. I didn't want to lose my marriage, but I also didn't want to keep losing myself. So I did the hardest thing I've ever done. I stopped pointing fingers and started doing the work on me. Now, after 25 plus years of marriage, raising 3 daughters, and running a thriving therapy practice, I'm here to help you do the same. This podcast is for the woman who looks like she has it all together, but secretly feels like she's falling apart. We're talking real marriage struggles, parenting teens, rebuilding trust, reclaiming identity, and finally feeling like you again. Pull up a seat. You don't have to figure it out alone. This is Empowered and Unapologetic. Welcome to Empowered and Unapologetic, the podcast for high-achieving women who are ready to master marriage, motherhood, and their careers without losing themselves in the process. Today, we have an incredible guest, Megan Tobler, the founder of Self Start Her, a thriving community and podcast designed for women who are building businesses while balancing life at home. Megan has turned her own experiences into a movement, helping women step into entrepreneurship confidently without the guilt or overwhelm. She knows firsthand the struggles of trying to do it all while chasing big goals. And she's here to teach us exactly how we can break free from burnout and step into success. In this episode, you're going to learn why so many women are leaving their corporate world and choosing entrepreneurship, the biggest struggles successful women face in relationships and how to fix them, how to grow a business when you're short on time, energy, and support, as well as actionable strategies to navigate balancing it all without sacrificing yourself in the process. So grab a notebook because Megan is about to drop some serious wisdom. Let's go ahead and get to it. Hey, Megan.
Hey, Veronica, thanks so much for the warm welcome.
Absolutely. I am so excited to have you on. So you've built a thriving platform that supports women in business. Let's start with this. Why do you think more and more women are leaving corporate jobs for entrepreneurship?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of us are becoming mothers. And this is exactly my experience, is that I knew that I always wanted to be a mom. But as I was climbing that corporate ladder and chasing the titles and the success, my time just was no longer my own.
Yeah.
And it eventually got to the point where, you know what? Corporate had other plans for me. I was actually laid off after announcing my pregnancy to the entire company. And it didn't matter that I was the top performing salesperson. Our entire sales unit was let go. So I had never heard of something like that before.
Yeah.
And it was a really eye-opening experience to me because as this was going on in my life, I was talking about it with other women, and I wasn't the only other person that this was happening for. I say this because I truly think that things happen for us.
Absolutely.
But what I was realizing is that the corporate world really wasn't set up for moms to be able to succeed in family and life. A lot of women were having to choose, do I want to be a full-time career woman and then have outside help from my family?
Yeah.
Or do I want to be a stay-at-home mom and then forego my career? So I think a lot of these women were having these thoughts and these conversations, but I took a step back and I said, why can't I have both?
Yeah.
It might just look a little bit different than maybe what society has told us it's going to be. It's not going to be either or. I'm going to have and.
Yep.
I'm just going to have to figure out how to blend those two together. So I think to answer your question, it's because society is just not set up this way. So I think a lot of these women are looking for alternative ways to be able to still have that success in both family and career.
I completely agree with that. And to be honest, I am so glad you said that, because it's such an like I'm hearing you say this and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's such an obvious, like, yeah, it's obvious, but it's not. It's not. I think most of us are like, "Okay, well, I'll just figure it out. I'll just figure it out." And so because we're constantly trying to figure things out, it 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 the way you just described it, I wouldn't have answered that way. And I wouldn't have answered that way because, well, I'm just supposed to feel like, that wouldn't even have come to me. I guess that's really what I'm saying. Like, that wouldn't even have come to me, even though that is 1,000% true. It is so true. Yeah, I remember dropping off my daughters. I was in my internship at the hospital, and I remember, like, this is the last time I'm going to drop them off because, and it was at elementary school, because I have to be at, the hospital by 7:30 in the morning, and they start, they don't have to start until later on that day. And so I'd have to either drop them really, really early, or like they would have to walk, and my kids aren't walking to school. And I remember, like, my nanny, like, sending me pictures of, like, crazy hair day. I couldn't get them ready for crazy hair day unless I woke them up earlier. And it was just like, dude, this sucks. This sucks so much, but I just got to get this done. I just got to get this done. So I'm so glad you said it. You shared that with us, because I agree. It's huge. With that being said, from your experience, what are the tools or strategies or lessons that you need to learn that you're going to teach us today?
Well, I have to say that a lot of us already have the tools and the experience needed to be able to succeed in whatever it is that we want to do. So I really wanted to start by saying that sometimes we think that we don't have what it takes to be able to potentially start a business or move in whatever direction that we're looking to strive towards. But the reality is we all come from a past, and we all have an experience. My experience happens to be the corporate sales world. So that's a naturally where I was able to pull a lot of these different resources from, is because I have past experience in that world. But I'm just going to say, if you're maybe, I know everyone's a high achieving mom here, but maybe you're a stay at home mom and you're thinking, but I don't have a corporate like past, like what am I going to do? Every single woman here has different tools that they can extract from their experiences. So I'm just going to start with that today. But as far as what I'm talking about, I've really built my entire business with limited hours and with limited sleep. Because, like I said, I was laid off during my pregnancy. And it was at that point where I went into panic mode. I'm not going to lie to you, Veronica,
Yeah,
where I almost went back into corporate. I had 40 interviews scheduled within those next 2 weeks to
I believe
see,
it.
okay, how am I going to get back into this world?
Yeah.
I'm pregnant. I need benefits, all that good stuff. But after these conversations, I learned, you know what, this isn't where my heart is being called. So that's where I really buckled down and got focused on this podcast that I had already created, because I do host the Self Starter podcast. And I wanted to make sure that I was able to really bring that dream of mine to fruition. So, like I said, everything that I've built today was on either limited time with a new baby
Mm-hmm.
or while I was sick during pregnancy. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just say I've mastered these tips on how to do everything with limited time and within a very interesting stage in your life. So as far as the first tip's concerned, I would say that when you're thinking about what you want to do, and I'm going to talk about business purposes here because that's really where I
Shine.
shine in, I guess, is really building a business while also juggling life at home. So the first one is going to be, when you're thinking about what kind of business that you want to build, you need to think about, am I building a business where it's fitting into my life, or am I fitting my life into my business?
Mm-hmm.
And so I say that because when I was thinking about my current life stage, we all are in different life stages here. You and I were having this conversation. Your girls are a little bit older than mine. I have an 18-month-old at this
Yeah.
point.
I have
So we're in very different life
I have
stages.
a 14, an 18-year-old, and a 22-year-old.
Oh my, okay.
Yeah.
You have the whole gamut. So you're in a different life stage
Yeah.
than I am at. So the businesses that we build are going to look very different because we have different needs in our life at this time. Doesn't necessarily mean that things can't change as you go. But for my current stage, as an example, I really wanted to make sure that I was present for my child at all of these milestone moments because
Yes.
I wanted to be there when he took his first steps. I wanted to be there to hear him say mama for the first time. And the list goes on and on and on. And I didn't miss out on those moments because what I did is I was able to build a business that worked for me.
Yeah.
So I love people, as an example. I would love to be able to get into coaching. But I knew that coaching wasn't going to be my path right now because coaching, I'm exchanging time for money and I'm on someone else's schedule. So I needed something that was going to allow me to work during off hours, during nap time, after he goes to bed, and not be dependent on someone else's schedule outside of my own son's schedule. So that's what I say. It's like, make sure whatever you're building, you take a step back and think about, okay, what kind of business would fit into the life that I want to create, rather than trying to squeeze yourself into something that maybe isn't ultimately what you desire.
Yep. Why is that important? I 1,000% agree with you. Why is that important?
Well, I think it's important because you need to take a step back and really understand what your priorities are. So everyone's going to have different priorities there. So for me, my priority was time and the gift of presence. So it was just being able to get clear on what those priorities are for you and to be able to make sure. So if you don't care about that stuff, then that's fine. Then build a business where you're working around the clock. But I don't think I've met anyone in my journey that wants to work 24/7.
No.
So it's being able to make sure that you are fully content and you're feeling energized by this life that you've been able to create for yourself rather than feeling drained.
I think another point that we need to make here is it won't sustain itself. Like the business won't be right. It will not be sustainable if you're attempting to just do all of the things. And I think we get so we get so excited. We're so passionate about our dreams, our goals, and there's a great level of excitement. And so we start compromising ourselves in different areas of, well, if I work 80 hours, I'm already working 50. So what's 30 more? Like, it's not that big of a deal. But then we end up burning out a lot quicker. And then the dream turns into a nightmare, so to speak, right?
Exactly. And that's why I mentioned it energizes us rather than
Yes.
drains us, because
Yes.
that's a huge thing, especially women are experiencing, is because of burnout, because they're trying to do all the things. And you being in the field that you're being in, I'm sure that you have these conversations all the time.
Yep.
But women, we can handle a lot.
Yes.
But just because we can handle a lot doesn't mean that we should.
Yep.
So a big thing that I've learned that has been actually a little bit of a challenge for me to do, but I've had to do it, is being aware of knowing when I needed to ask for help.
Yes. Yes. I hear that all the time from the ladies that I interview. And it is so important to ask for help. I think a good amount of us, I don't want to say we get greedy, but we repeat the same habits that we practice in our home. My husband's not going to wash the dishes the way I would wash them, or load the dishwasher the way I would load the dishwasher. So I'll just do it. It's not that big of a deal. And when we provide, maybe when we give our assistant something, or we give, if we're just starting out, if we're looking at potentially hiring an assistant or hiring someone, we tend to just take it all on. And now, in addition to doing, we're also part of the constant decision making, as opposed to allowing somebody to take over the task completely. Yeah.
Exactly. I was actually listening to your conversation with Erica Kiriko.
Oh, yes.
And she was actually a guest on my podcast as well.
I love
and
her.
She's, oh, I know. It's just instant connection.
Right?
And she's just a beautiful woman inside and out. But she was talking about how she actually hires people that are smarter than her in certain instances, because she doesn't want to be telling them what to do. Instead, she wants them to come and say, Erica, we need to be doing this. Yeah. And so that is the kind of help, because I always advocate for being able to hire out as soon as you can, to be able to make sure that you are surrounding yourselves with people who are more intelligent than you in certain aspects, because we all have our different areas of genius.
Yep.
And so when we're all focused on those specific areas, we're going to rise a lot more quickly, and we're going to be able to do it together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What would you say is the biggest misconception women have about starting their own business?
I have interviewed a lot of women. I've interviewed over 150 women throughout my podcasting journey. And a lot of them think that everything has to be perfect and they have to have everything laid out before they can even get
Mm-hmm.
started. And that has held a lot of women back.
Yep.
So this is something that women face a lot more than men. Men kind of just like go at it. They put the confidence hat on and they just charge. Women are, I mean, it's even in the corporate world. There's a stat that women only apply to a job if they've ticked off every single qualification, where men, it's like, I've made 30%. Like, we'll just go for it
Yeah,
and see
let's
what
see what this is.
happens. But women, we just have this innate desire to have everything perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is nothing is ever going to be perfect. And if
No.
you keep waiting, it's never going to happen. And in addition to that, women also have a big, they suffer from imposter syndrome. And this
Yes.
is a conversation that every single woman has had and shared with me. But the difference between these high achieving women that make it and those that don't is that those they work through that imposter syndrome, because
Yes.
no matter your quote unquote success level, you're always going to feel like an imposter at some stage, because it means you're doing something new. You're
Mm-hmm.
challenging yourself and you're pushing yourself. So again, the biggest thing that I'm seeing is perfectionism and imposter syndrome.
Absolutely. Right now, as you're sharing this, I'm thinking about one of my friends. I won't say her name, but she's an attorney. Hey, girl. And she's looking into opening up her own practice. And for me, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's start now. She's like, no, 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 I need this. And I'm like, no, 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 let's start now. Like, why do you think it is, besides imposter syndrome, what other things keep us from starting now? And should we start now?
Well, I think we should start yesterday.
Right,
Honestly.
right, me
Yes.
too. I didn't. I will admit, when I started my journey with opening up my practice, I didn't. I was, I stayed at the hospital for 5.5 years, and 2 to 3 years in, I was like, I'm gonna quit. And I remember every single time, I'm like, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna give my letter of resignation. And I would go in, and the director would say, Veronica, that's cute, what do we need to give you? And it's like, no, 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 you don't need to give me more money. You don't need to give me another assistant. Like, I just need to quit because I'm working so much. But that fear kept on coming up for me. If I quit the hospital, then where am I going to get my patients from? How are people going to know I exist? There's no way. And this is the thought that kept on coming up for me. There's no way I'm capable of this, because I had a private pay practice. There's no way I'm capable of this. And so I have to stay at the hospital so I can continue building these relationships, and people want to, from leaving the hospital, they'll come to me. And that was the running thought that kept me there for 5.5 years, where people were like making fun of me. And my own supervisor, Marcia, she's like, did you come in to quit again? And like, it was just this like joke, because she wasn't going to let me go without a fight. And because she had that fight, I was like, her fears then became, it wasn't even her fears, but her fears became my fears, or exposed my fears, I guess I should say. And so I was like, yeah, I guess I should stay here. And mind you, I already had a wait list. I didn't have a website. I didn't have social media, but I was already booked. But it was like, okay, well, what happens after this? Then where am I going to get everybody?
Well, what I've experienced in a lot of my conversations is that it's not the fear of failure that a lot of people are afraid of. It's actually the fear of success.
Yes. Thank you for
And
saying that.
that's something that a lot of women have spoken about. And I found that very interesting. It's because sometimes it's more comfortable to play small.
Yeah.
But when you put yourself out there and you're open to expansion, then your possibilities just explode, I guess, at that
Mm-hmm.
point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also kind of scary because that's unknown. You don't know what's going to happen when you can assume,
Yep.
but all these doors open for you that you would never imagine, where
Yep.
it's like, I know my comfort zone. I know that in my 9 to 5, I'm going to get my paycheck every week. I'm going to have my nice benefits plan,
Yep.
and that's comfortable, that's safe, and that's what society tells us we should strive towards.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like, first of all, it's the biggest compliment when your boss doesn't want you to leave, when they're fighting for you to stay. So you should feel so proud that for 5 years they were trying to keep you. Like, that's a huge deal. Uh, but at the same time, the people in our life that are doing that, like that, they're keeping us small. And when you're really, there's something inside of you that's screaming to go out there, that you're made for more. And we're holding ourselves back because we're afraid of what can happen when we just let ourselves fly.
Yep. Yep. Thank you for saying that. I love that. Nothing breaks my heart more than watching women pour into everyone else and feel like they've completely lost themselves in the process. That's why I have founded Outside the Norm Counseling, because therapy shouldn't feel like one more thing on your to-do list. It should feel like relief. I'm Veronica Cisneros, licensed marriage and family therapist and host of the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast. And I know what it's like to look around at your life and think, why does everything feel fine, but feel so off? At Outside the Norm Counseling, we help women who are high functioning on the outside, but silently falling apart inside. Women who are waking up overwhelmed, snapping at the people they love, and carrying guilt that never seems to lift. And if you're not ready for therapy, that's okay. Let's start small. With my self-paced course, Reignite Your Marriage and Reclaim Your Identity. This is for you, not your husband. Because when you reconnect with yourself, everything else begins to shift. Head to OutsideTheNormCounseling.com to start. Remember, you don't have to keep holding it all together. You just have to take the first step. High-achieving women often feel like they have to do it all. What are the biggest mindset shifts you had to make to stop feeling like you were failing at everything? You mentioned, making sure to delegate. What other things did you have to do?
I have to say, I'm going to be very transparent. When I had 2 identity shifts that happened in my life in a very short period of time. One is I let go of my time in the corporate world. So I was no longer able to say that I was a enterprise account executive.
Which is a big
when
deal,
people ask
right?
me what they're doing.
Yeah,
It
it is
was.
a big
And
deal.
then,
That title, we hold on to those titles. Mm-hmm.
well, especially when you meet someone, that's the first thing that they ask you.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And when you no longer have something to say, then it kind of is a little punch to the gut, a little ego thing at that point. And then I have to say, becoming a mom was another identity shift. And it's been interesting because I'm a stay-at-home mom and I'm building a business. So when people ask me what I do, and I said, well, this is it. But I say it and they're like, oh. And so that has been a really big identity shift for me to be able to recognize that I'm doing something really beautiful here. I am able to raise my son and build a better life for us at the same time, even though my life maybe look different than someone that is in the traditional working world.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that it's wrong. And so I have to say, like, from a mindset perspective, and it's, to be honest with you, Veronica, it's a daily struggle to be able to make sure that I am choosing
Thank you for
to
saying that.
present myself to present myself in a way where I am confident, because I have made this choice for myself and for my family to not return into the corporate world, because I know that this is the life that I want for my family moving forward. And I'm working my little booty off over here.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't owe anyone an explanation as to why I've made this decision, and have to justify myself as to why,
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the mindset shifts that have had to occur, I've had to really work on making sure that my new identity, I'm really embracing it.
Yes.
And like I said, that is a choice I'm having to make every single day to be able to not revert back to the old version of me. Because once I've entered into motherhood, I am a completely new version of myself, and there's no going back. No. I'm never not going to be a mom at this point.
No.
It's a permanent title, as you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Girl, I've been trying to give it back, but those kids throw it right back at me. No, I love that. Even as a clinician, there are times where it's like, am I capable? Like, am I capable of helping? And I think that just really, really speaks to how much we take a great deal of pride in the work that we do. We take a great deal of pride in the work that we do. And this is why we want to check all of those boxes before applying for whatever job. And this is why there's so many insecurities and so much fear that comes up for us with venturing into entrepreneurship, right? There's so many things. However, that right there speaks to your passion and the love that you have for this. And one thing that I know sets an entrepreneur apart from anyone else is an entrepreneur is willing to allow their insecurities to be exposed, and they're willing to go ahead and face fear in the face and work on those insecurities as opposed to be limited by them,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. I would say that this is probably the best education that I've ever received
Yes.
in my entire life, and
Yes.
I've had a lot of education throughout
Yeah.
my 35 years of life over here. So, but you mentioned the word capable. Like, you're saying, am I capable of this? I maybe I'm different. I don't know, but I always felt like I was capable. I knew that I had what it took to do it, but there was a part of me that wondered, was I qualified? And again,
I love
that was
that.
kind of going back to the imposter syndrome that we all face, is like, okay, I know that I have all of these skills that I possessed in corporate, but I also didn't want to bring my corporate identity into this space because I actually wanted to leave that behind. I wanted to bring some of those skill sets, but I didn't want to be the sales girl. I I was good at it, but it wasn't what
No.
I wanted to identify with moving forward.
Yeah.
And so that was something that, from a mindset perspective, going back to that, I actually struggled with figuring out, what is my thing? What can I actually help with women with and this was probably a 2-year journey at this point, really trying to figure out, what can I do to truly help these women?
Yeah.
And what I realized throughout all of this is that I don't have to always teach like the tactics and the strategy. I realized I was a connector. And so when people now ask me, what do you do? I say, well, I'm a connector. And obviously they kind of go, what? What's that? Because it's not something you hear every day. And so then I then go on to say, those old school telephone operators where you'd pick up your phone back in the old school days, and you'd get the little lady on the end with a little headset, and you would tell her where you wanted to go,
Yeah.
and she would connect you. But instead of connecting phone calls, I'm connecting people with resources, with other women, and different tips and strategies, because I've been able to create this amazing community of women through my podcast. And then I
Yes.
now have a community. And so I have all these resources and incredible women at my fingertips. So all you have to say is, I'm looking for this. And immediately I know, because I have this weird gift. I remember every single person and little weird facts about them, but immediately that light bulb moment goes on off, and I'm like, I know how I can help you. And
Mm.
so I'm constantly connecting people, and it's because I'm right now I'm on your podcast, so obviously I'm doing more talking, but I'm a really good listener. And that came from my sales days, where I do more listening than I do speaking. So it's like going back to everything there. We always have those experiences to use from the past. And that's how I was really able to work through my mindset. Once I realized I was a connector, that light bulb moment went off, and it's like, okay, I can move forward now. I get it.
Yes. Yes. Even when you said it, like when I'm a connector, like, I'm like, I get excited. I love that. Just because, just because it's like, okay, what are you connecting me to? Like, what are we doing? Like,
Exactly.
let's do it. And the fact that you're so passionate about it, like that excites me even more. What would you say are your three non-negotiables you put in place that helped you scale your business without burning out?
My family is number one, no question about it.
Yes.
My family comes first. And even before this call, like, you were dropping your kids off at
Yeah.
school, and just were running just like a tad bit late, no big deal. And I really appreciated, one, your level of professionalism for letting me know. But my immediate reaction is, seriously, your family comes first. Like,
Hmm.
always, if there's ever family involved, if anyone's going to understand, it's me, because that is my number one priority.
Yeah.
It is family first, always. In fact, in my community that I have, it's called the Together Community. That is one of our values, is that we understand that no matter what, family comes first. Sometimes things have to wait a day. Sometimes things have to wait a week. We will be here when you're ready for us. But again, your family comes first. So I would say that recognizing that my son and my husband come first, has been allowed me to be able to make sure that I am really present for those two
Yes.
when I need to be. But then when I do have that time, I am just
Yeah.
I'm in work mode.
Yep.
So the second one would be really prioritizing my to-do list. I will say I get way more done in concentrated hours a day. So I maybe have 2 hours a day to actually get work done at this point. I get way more done in those 2 hours than I could do in an 8 hour workday because I am completely focused and honed in on what I need to do. The busy work is out the door at this point. So as far as burnout, I'm not doing a lot of unnecessary tasks that aren't going to move the needle forward. I'm really focusing on what is the most important thing that I need to get done today and really focusing on that. And then the last one, it's scrapping perfectionism. It's realizing that I'm going to make mistakes and the people that I want in my world are going to be understanding of that because I'm human and so are they. And if they don't, then those really aren't the people that I want to surround myself with anyways. And girl, believe me, I make a lot of mistakes. I don't try to, but it happens. As I've been launching my community, it's just like lots of tech things on the back end that you don't
know about that stuff.
And my people have been just so welcoming and so encouraging through this because I've shown up and I said, look, I goofed. I'm sorry, but here's how I'm going to fix it. And I'm just constantly providing value to be able to make sure that they know that I still care despite that some hiccups are going to happen.
Yep. I love that.
So again, family, prioritization, and just showing up messy and just bitching the perfectionism.
And I think that messy part is not only what makes it, obviously it's what makes us human, but in addition to that, that's also what helps us build rapport with our clients. It helps us really connect. And we're not seen as somebody that people can't talk to. Like, we're so relatable because of that. I love that. What was one challenge you faced in your marriage while growing your business, and how did you overcome it?
Ooh. So I will say that it's actually something that we haven't fully overcome. It's something it's a work in progress because my husband works insane hours. I'm pretty much a single mom over here. The description I always give is I'm kind of like a military wife. However, he's not in danger every single day. He comes home at night. It's just he's gone at 7 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes he doesn't get home till 9 o'clock or later. He works really, really long hours. So the biggest thing for me is because I am in the middle of growth mode for my business. So whenever my son isn't sleeping, I'm working. So when my husband gets home, a lot of the times, like I was on my computer. When my son was napping on the weekends, I would get on my computer and I would just get into work mode. And my husband would kind of be like, hey, like, don't forget about me. Like, we need to prioritize a relationship too. And when he said that, I immediately obviously felt bad because it didn't even, I know this is going to sound horrible, but it didn't even occur to me.
No, it's not, girl. I've been there.
Yeah, it's like I'm in hustle mode right now because I have a very short amount of time to get this done. And that's what I was prioritizing. But really with him kind of saying like, hey, don't forget about me, it really made me realize that I also needed to prioritize him. Otherwise our relationship was going to suffer. So when he gets home every single day, I mean, I'm not Susie Homemaker over here. I'm not going to show up in like a cute little outfit at the door with like a pie in my hand. Like, that's not me.
No.
I do greet him at the door. I make sure that he knows that like I care and I appreciate him. And then when he does come home, laptop's down and he has my full attention and full focus. And then on the weekends, he's also building something on the side. What we've done is during the day, we take turns on the weekends, spending time with our son and while the other one gets work done. And then at the end of the night, we make sure that that's uninterrupted time for ourselves to be able to make sure that we get our quality time in there too. Because becoming a mom and building a business, both of them take up a lot of your time. And then also having a relationship at the same time, like all of them in order to work, take your time and your energy. So it's really trying to figure out how can I make sure that I am showing up as myself and really giving each one the time and the energy that it deserves to flourish.
Absolutely. No, Willie has told, that's my husband's name. Willie has told me, and he's flat out said it. I'm tired of competing with your career. I'm tired of competing with your career. And there was a time where he and I really, really struggled because he's a retired Marine. And so he was away, in, he toured Afghanistan. He had a tour in Iraq. And when I say tour, he was in war. And so he would be gone for training. And, we had 3 girls. And so for me, there was so much, when he was no longer active in the Marine Corps. And, I kind of hit the ground running once I graduated grad school. It was like, I remember point blank telling him, pretend I'm in Iraq. Like literally pretend I'm in Iraq, pretend I'm in Afghanistan. Like, you were gone for 7 months. Obviously, I'm not going to be gone for 7 months, but you had your time. I need my time. And I know that that's an unhealthy way of seeing it. That's where we were. And it was really, really difficult for me to, I'll say, budge, because I felt like, well, it's my time. Like, and, it kind of felt like there was so much sacrifice on my end for you and your career. I wanted his sacrifice to match mine. And yeah, we definitely had to really, really work hard on being able to truly understand what this represents for both of us, and really have those hard, uncomfortable conversations so that we can definitely, be a stronger team and really, really show the love and connection without other things kind of intervening, I should say. But yeah, it was hard for us, and this is why I do what I do, because I think without the proper skills, or without the right skills, without that level of understanding, I don't know if we would have survived.
Well, because it takes work.
Oh, a
It's not
thousand
easy.
percent.
And I think every single day is a choice.
Yes.
So it's some days are going to be easier than others. And it's like you just have to make sure that even on those hard days, we're showing up for each other and reminding
Mm-hmm.
ourselves that we chose each other and this
Yes.
is why we chose each other, and to
Yes.
support each other throughout all of our endeavors. Even
Absolutely.
if we don't even always understand, it's just important that we do support. And it's, like I said, it's not always easy.
No, no,
Because sometimes the resentment does build up and it's like you don't want it to, but it's just
no.
a natural thing that we all experience. But like you said, that's why you do what you do. And so the fact that you were aware of some of these like techniques and ways to work through it, I'm sure it's made your relationship only stronger
Oh,
as a result of it.
1,000%. Again, I'm not saying that it was easy. It wasn't. Now my husband thinks he's a therapist. Sometimes he's like, "Wait a minute, that was a distorted thought." I'm like, okay, hold on, stay in your lane.
Oh, that's funny.
Megan, Megan, what is the biggest lesson? What is the biggest lesson you've learned from your journey that you wish you knew earlier?
I think the biggest thing is just to get started.
Yes.
I mentioned a couple times in this conversation, but I was the one holding myself back from putting myself truly out there. And it's, you had mentioned confidence, like as when you show up as an entrepreneur earlier. And it's like, I don't have confidence every single day. And it's like just working through it, showing up anyways, and just sometimes just faking that confidence, because
Yeah.
if you start acting like you're confident, you're eventually going to be confident.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, that's what I really had to do every single day, is just show up. Don't be, not be afraid to be myself. Like once I start putting my true authentic self out there, people started to connect with me. And I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and I know that, but there are going to be a lot of people that do resonate with my stage of life and my way of thinking and things like that. And that's what I really realized, is that once I showed up confidently, started putting myself and my life out there,
Yeah.
like
Everything
it
check.
really just made such a huge impact on my life and my business. Things just have completely blossomed from there.
Mm-hmm. Where can our listeners connect with you and find more resources?
So my company is Self Starter. So it's STARTHER. So emphasizing the her there, because we're all about ambitious women over at
Yes,
the Self Starter
yes, yes,
podcast too.
yes.
So we have a podcast and a community. If you just go to selfstarter.com /together, that's where you can find all the information about the community. And then just find me on Instagram at selfstart.her. So all the places, I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes.
Heck yeah. Megan, this conversation was everything. Thank you for being so real and sharing these game-changing insights. Ladies, if today's episode spoke to you, take action. Start with one small shift today, whether it's setting a boundary, reaching out for support, or making space for your dreams. If you loved this episode, share it with another high-achieving woman who needs to hear this. And don't forget to tag both of us, myself as well as Megan. Megan, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for opening up the space for me today.
Raise your hand if you are ready to level up your marriage for 2023. Do you find that you're spending your time together with your husband checked out and in front of the TV? I know you're ready for tangible strategies that actually get you results. Reignite the spark in your marriage, have fun, and grow together. Well, I hope you have your hand raised at this minute because I have something special for you. I'm introducing my brand new 6-question marriage predictor quiz that's gonna give you personalized results to catapult you into the next stage of your marriage journey. That means you'll receive the results to where your marriage can get the best help. If you've got just 1 minute, head to veronicacisneros.org/quiz. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz, and you can take my brand new quiz, Marriage Predictor. Get your results delivered right to your email address. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz, veronicacisneros.org/quiz. What's up, ladies? Just want to let you guys know that your ratings and reviews for this podcast are greatly appreciated. If you love this podcast, please go to iTunes right now, write a review, rate the episode, and subscribe. Don't forget to share it with your friends.